Everybody come on in. Who's good?
Being recorded.
Do we need to bring a keyboard?
And there's more.
Do one more turn? We can move it up more.
Guys, okay, I'm gonna give you like 2 seconds, and then you're gonna do a welcome. Is that our pre-
I'm gonna
just
welcome
told
and then
them
it's on your show, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, everybody, welcome to the library. It's 5 o'clock. It's actually a couple minutes past that. I'm Scott Papich. I'm on the board of directors of the Netherland Community Library. And on behalf of the library, we welcome you to the Meet the Candidates event for this month's special election. The library, of course, is nonpartisan. We don't take any political positions, certainly not this evening, but we do stand for public information. That's what this is all about, okay? Want to remind everybody that this is being recorded tonight. Candidates, please repeat questions that are asked by the audience before you respond so that we can take it up in the recording. Audience members, try to speak up clearly when you do speak, or if you do speak, or you have a question. And finally, this is the library, so let's be respectful. Okay? Barb Hart is our moderator tonight, and I think that's all from me, so Barb, I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Scott. I'm Barbara Hart. If you don't know who I am, I have the Mount Airy newspaper, and for many, many years, we have helped to organize the candidate forums here in Netherland and in Gilpin County to make sure that everybody has access to the candidates that they're voting for. So I'm going to call myself not a moderator. I'm really going to put the questions out and then kind of let them speak. But first, everyone's going to introduce themselves and just do like a 3-minute introduction. We have some questions that were submitted. A lot of the questions that were submitted were very similar to each other. So we're going to try to go through what we started with, a couple of other questions that were for specific candidates, and then open it up to public comment if we have time. We have a hard stop at 6 o'clock, so we have to be done at 6 o'clock so fly fishing can happen next. So that's the stop.
For those that want to continue, we're going out to the library platform afterwards if you want to keep talking.
Yeah. Great. So since you spoke up, Tom,
Okay.
why don't you go ahead and do your
Here we are.
introduction?
I had to look it up, but we were here on March 3rd. So it was there was snow outside, it was howling, but here we are again. Over in that corner was this guy, Julian Taylor, who was our mayor for a month. He delivered a stem winder. You can go back and read it. That basically he was running unopposed for mayor, and he said it was a travesty, and it was. Fortunately, this time we've got competition. Thank you, Billy. That was 150 days ago. 120 days ago, I was sworn in as a trustee, as was Karen Blakemore. What I heard the day before, or the week before being sworn in, is that Julian asked if I'd be mayor pro tem. It became clear why later, that he was leaving. And then so I literally by my second meeting, maybe I think it was, or perhaps third, I had the gavel. So I've been doing the job now for 120 days. One of the most sobering moments is when they take you over to Gilpin County for disaster preparedness for emergency officials, where they tell you the things that you wish you never had to know. And here's what happens in a school shooting. Here's what happens in a mass casualty event. Here's what happens with one wildfire comes through, what you're going to be called upon to do. It's very sobering. It's when, it was a cold glass of water across the face. Don was in the room with me that day, and these were things that we're called upon to do, hopefully not very often, but in these 120 days, I've had to work a lot on everything from police department and staffing issues to wildfire preparation to getting to know my fellow mayors and government and fellow government officials at a local, county, congressional, and higher level, and how they're going to be able to help our town. We've got many of you have got a letter from me on the issues I intend to focus on. We've had a lot of reactive issues. I'm looking forward to getting back into an agenda. we've run extremely short-handed since the beginning. We're down to 4 members right now, which makes even getting a quorum for a meeting sometimes difficult. I've spent a lot of time getting to know, I think that's the best part of what I'm doing, is I've got to know a lot of you in the process. I'm looking forward to continuing. We've got, and I'm also looking forward to having a board that's back at full strength. So I don't think you can go wrong with anybody here at this table. You know, we have all gotten together, we know each other, we respect each other, we like each other, we're looking forward to serving. And it's definitely not to get rich, but it's because we have a lot of things. We have a great community. We have a lot of unplayed cards. How am I doing on 3 minutes? Am I just about done?
You're there.
Okay. Usually I'm on the other side of that clock.
Yeah, right.
So I'm done. Yeah, I'm running, the 2 of us are running for mayor. Billy will talk next. I don't think you can go wrong either way. I've been doing the job. I enjoy it. It's hard work, but I'll keep doing it.
So my timer. Hey everyone, I'm Billy Giblin. I've been living here in Netherlands specifically for over 6 years. We bought our house in 2016. I moved to the Intermountain West, over the hill in Fraser Valley, Tabernash in 1985, and really been living in the Intermountain West most of that time ever since. Initially as a ski bum, learning how to be a ski bum, went away doing forestry work in the summer, and then coming back every winter having to figure out housing, and then that for years, and then commercial fishing for a couple of years, Alaska, coming back again. There's just moving away, coming back for housing, and living that ski area, ski bum life. And then I got into guiding, outdoor guiding, that with the National Sports Center, the Disabled Winter Parks. Disabled ski program that I ran there, cross-country ski program for 5 years. Started bringing folks to overnight hut trips and some of disabilities. So got more into the community there on a year-round basis, and then different kinds of guiding work for Albert Town. I did wilderness therapy work for years, about 16 years almost total. I did that kind of work on and off. And then my wife and I, who met over in Grand County, I guess one thing I would say, so since 1985, I've been watching small Intermountain West towns and watching what has happened since 1985. And in a nutshell, I prefer not to see that happen here. It's hard to name a town that's grown in a way that doesn't have issues we could potentially not choose into. You know, a lot of places have developed in certain ways. They're in housing. They have housing crisis, shortages, if not crisis, in most of the Intermountain West, not just Colorado. So I've seen that between guiding and living around and just travels, and then coming back to Winter Park for years, and then you're in Utah, Moab, Salt Lake City, go back to school there. Park City, again, just seeing more towns that I'd seen, a lot of those towns, or mammoth towns, I've seen grow since 1985, and I've seen them growing away. That I haven't liked. And kind of shockingly, I don't know why this didn't happen in this town 20, 30 years ago, being so close to Boulder. And we're lucky it hasn't. I mean, it's definitely growing, but it hasn't become something that we don't want it to be. And that is a big reason why I'm running for mayor. I felt definitely moved by Julian's speech, call to action speech back in March, and just some of the things I heard from the candidates. And I have 2 kids. I'm kind of on 2 sides of the spectrum. I'm an old guy, decided to get married late, and I'm 59. I'll be 60 in January. I got an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I'm like looking at childcare and education at the same time. You know, I'll be 73 when Una finishes college or high school. So it's like I'm also looking at aging in place and continuing to work as much as I can and being here and making this place sustainable. And then having all those years in the workforce in ski towns, I understand that too. So housing's a big one for me. Education and making sure that we know that middle school is solid now and for the future, and building an economy in which we can all thrive.
Thanks, Billy. Jesse.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jesse Sievers. I live you can see my house from out the front door there. And I've lived here 12 years. I want to say thank you all for coming here tonight. And it really makes me proud to be a part of this community, just to see the level of engagement that we have here. And, you know, like I said, I've been here for 12 years. And for the first 5 years or so, I volunteered, spent a lot of time volunteering. I was on the Sustainability Advisory Board. I participated in starting up Ned Compost, and I was going door to door with my bicycle and a trailer and collecting compost from folks, and worked with the community center and on that. And then I spent time on the planning commission, and I've always just really loved to be a part of this town, and just meeting all the neighbors has been really great for me. I wanted to join the BOT and serve on the BOT about 7 years ago, and pretty much every election that comes around, I chat with my wife about it, and she says, hell no, it's either BOT or me, take big. So
You're missing.
yeah. So finally, this election came along, and I had some invitations from some community members to join the BOT, and for once, Angie said, yeah, I think it's a good time. I do own and operate an excavation business here in Nederland, and that's been going well. I have 2 kids, and I feel that my greatest strength, and kind of maybe something that wasn't in the paper, my profile, is that I really take my most pride of what I feel is my greatest strength is my ability to build and maintain good, solid relationships, and really just build my experience of building wealth and building value in my community through building solid relationships. And that doesn't go without challenges at times, but I pride myself in my ability to think creatively and work and find good solutions, working with people with different points of view, and my ability to connect with people from all walks of life. And I've lived in many countries, and always just really found taken a lot of joy in meeting new people, and finding ways to bridge gaps between where we come from. And my background in education is also in sustainability, so I do have a lot of kind of economic sustainability disposition, I suppose. I would like to see us keep sustainability in mind as we continue to grow and flourish as a town. And also my ability to kind of take all those different relationships and different ideas and different solutions to a situation, and kind of integrate diverse perspectives into an elegant solution that can kind of meet and satisfy the need of the day. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Jesse. And Ryan?
Hello, my name is Riley McAllister. I've worked up here in Netherlands for just about 5 years now. Been a resident for going on 4 years here in January. What brought me up to Netherlands was Tom Hendricks. He was my mentor, my friend, my hero, so to speak. He brought me up here fresh out of college, didn't really know what I was going to do with the world. I thought I was going to attack the finance industry and be working on Wall Street and making all the money. He reined me in, brought me into the community, taught me his love and respect for everyone here, showed me an appreciation for helping your neighbor. And he was out there at 70 years old, battling cancer, still shoveling everyone's driveway on Caribou Road before he made it to work. He would stop and help anyone on the side of the road, and anyone going by would just get a smile and wave when Tom would go in his green truck. I don't want to get emotional here. He was very, very special to me. I love that he's looking down over our shoulders right now as well. He'd be very proud to see the involvement and the appreciation that he's instilled in me and growing to this day. So I'm a safety officer up at the Crossing Caribou Gold Mines. I am working up there to see his dream come to fruition, to keep that original historic mining town where everyone is involved with the community, giving back, no corporate greed, no trying to mill out the other work and push out everyone. I mean, he really instilled a mom and pop, give back to local community operation. And to this day, I see it happening. We're getting there every step of the way, and I've seen this town grow as well. So I've decided to take the next step and become involved. I want to help see this future for the town of Esau. I don't want to see Boulder coming in and taking over that. Really holding on to the values that we hold still. I mean, it's a very special place. Not a lot of people understand. They drive through, they think, oh, what a weird little quirky town. But we're all family. We may be different and strange, but we're all family here. I think we can get along, and with a board that's involved and that cares, we can really make a difference.
Okay, thank you. And Steve, I think it's you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Seepage. I live right down on 2nd Street here in town, and I work over at Tin Shed. I have made my career in Colorado through cycling and through seeing some really great trail development and seeing some really great places to ride. In the last few years of my career, I've worked in nonprofits. I'm on the board of directors with Community Cycle Down in Bolton, and I have seen some great things that cycling can do, not only for the people that can afford it, but for the people that actually need it, and for folks that it became a life changer for them. I am firmly a believer that in order to run successful businesses in this community, we need to have people that can work at those businesses. And I think that working at Tin Shed and seeing the constant flow of people that have gone through the cafes and the restaurants and all the different places here in town that we love to go to, and going to some of those restaurants and seeing it closed and locked door on Monday afternoon, just want to go get a sandwich, is kind of tragic. And I think that overall, a situation like that, and talking about some of the mountain towns that grew in sort of cancerous ways, where workers can't afford to stay there. And if we can't afford to have our businesses open up, we are not going to have the tax revenue that we need to sustain our town. So I am a firm believer in moderating and metered growth, but definitely more for affordable housing for some of the workers that are in town. And some of those workers that would love to buy a home up here. I don't know how to bridge the gap between having affordable housing and having affordable homes in places where people can truly call this place their home, rather than just be a transient and not truly invest in our community. But I have seen a huge transition when somebody goes from just being a renter in town to actually own a home and then taking ownership and coming out to these communities. So, just as has been said, I think we've all gotten a call from Julian that we want to participate in our town. And I think we all see, every one of us in this room can see that our town is in, and it's always felt this way, but it's in a precarious place where there's a lot on the line lately, and there's always been a lot on the line. I want to do the best that I can to make good decisions, and keeping in mind that we need a workforce, and keeping in mind that we need to make some pretty drastic infrastructural improvements to the town to support any upcoming housing, and really to alleviate some of the traffic issues that we have on the weekends. It's infuriating for all of us to go through town, and I don't know if improved bicycle infrastructure, which is where my heart lies, is a decent solution, but we definitely need to do something about parking. It'd be great to see less people in cars on weekends. My personal background, I grew up in Ohio. I've lived in Colorado for the past 24 years. I have lived in Colorado for longer than I've lived in Ohio at this point. This is my home. I was not raised with a huge amount of resources when I was young, and I am a firm believer that getting kids on bicycles and getting kids in libraries and getting kids involved in their community is a really cool thing. That's one of the great things that I see down at the teen center every time I ride by and see all the kids on skateboards out there rather than video games or whatever it is. So, oh, sorry. I didn't think I was going to make 3 minutes. So anyhow,
You made it.
I look forward to the possibility of serving the community. I love it up here. And, yeah, I'll do the best that I can.
Thank you. Because we have a time constraint, I'm going to set the alarm so it actually rings out loud instead of just so I can see it. And they're going to be I think 2 minutes at least. Right? Biggest hot topic, of course, because it came in almost every question that came into the email for the candidates forum. How would you approach the current situation in the Netherland Police Department? And we'll start with Steve and we'll go that way, and it's just going to be 2 minutes, so you have to have just a general idea.
Do you want to say go or okay?
Yeah, go.
So
And everybody, please speak up.
Speak up.
and it's a funding issue.
Okay.
Oh,
What was that?
Speak up.
sorry, everyone
Speak
speak
up.
up. How would I deal with the police issue that's currently in town? I think that taking a step back and looking at what is the worst case scenario, that if we do lose our police department and go under Boulder County Sheriff, we're not losing response times. From my understanding, we have a stationed officer up here at least. So I think that putting everybody's mind at ease first and foremost, that we're not losing policing up here is the first thing, so everybody stop panicking. I would actually, feeling that worst case scenario, I would like to see if there would be budget in if we didn't have an actual med PD, if we were under the Boulder County Sheriff, do we have the budget to come up with a couple of mental health care first responders? I think that a lot of the issues that we have up here, a lot of the policing issues are more of a mental health care crisis than they are necessarily a police issue. And maybe I'm way off on that, Marshall 511, you probably know him back there far more than I do. But I would like to explore that question before I have an answer for do we lose the med PD or do we go to the Boulder County Sheriffs. I think mental health care first response is a rather important aspect of policing. And I think that if we go under sheriffs, that actually may open up a little bit of budget.
Great, thank you. And Ryan?
I completely agree with your mental health. We need a center up here. We need something local. We need some resources that people can go to instead of having to call or find marshals and sheriffs. And it's a double-edged sword here. Having local PD to have the connections with the locals, the current thumb on the ground with what's going on, the problems, the frustrations, that words can't say enough. I mean, having that personal connection goes so far. If it's a budgetary constraint, if it's I would like to see the Ned PD continue and have the proper funding, and rather spend the time on trying to shut them down, look for the grants, look for the ways to fund them, look for the ways to give them the resources that they need. And I think that does include mental health services. More resources up here. I mean, as I know we have a planned health clinic in Gilpin, but as far as emergency on-site medical treatment in Netherland, we're lacking as well. So I think the healthcare problem needs to be addressed with the police problem as well. And it's not really a problem. We just need to find the funding to support our local police department.
That's the problem.
Yes, money's the problem. It always is.
Great, thanks Riley. And Jesse?
Yeah, so, I do have a younger brother that I had a lifelong chess battle with, and I read a book on chess that I feel applies to this situation, this question, when I was trying to find a competitive advantage over my brother. And it was talking about how you think about the competition in chess. And when it's my turn, I'm thinking about tactics, and when it's my opponent's turn, I'm thinking about strategy, because I can't anticipate the future. I can't anticipate his move, so it's better to think more strategic, big picture, strategic. And then when it is my turn, I'm thinking if I go here, he moves there, and this and that. So I think that the way I would like to approach this situation is both of those fronts. From a tactical point of view, I think it's vital that we don't lose our service and our coverage. And I think that we need to, basically be conferencing with Marshal Feinloven as much as we can, and encouraging her to help lead us through the solution to maintain, because as I was sitting in on one of the BOT meetings, obviously she's working unsustainable hours. And so that is the immediate crisis at hand that needs to be, we need to apply good tactical thinking on how we can not run her into the ground, and also not lose our protection and our police coverage. So that is the immediate crisis that we need to have good strategic thinking on, and we can't rest until we've shored up that gap. And then on the strategic level, I have been reading through our comprehensive plan, our Envision 2020, and I see that there's a whole lot of really great stuff in there from a lot of planning that many of us here participated in, and nothing about our vision for how we police ourselves, and yet it's a quarter of our total budget. So I feel like we need to have more of a community process because I've loved the way the police have engaged with me since I've lived here. It's been hands down the best experience I've ever had, and we need to make sure that we protect those amazing qualities of our local police department, and that those carry on to whatever the long-term solution is.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. And Billy?
So I've been listening in, and hopefully you all have too, on what the DOT has been talking about and you know, as a solution. And there's definitely seems to be a lot of misunderstanding. Some people have said, you know, we have no police department anymore, and we do, thanks to Marshall Fine Lovin', but it's really, you know, at a crisis. I think the majority of people want the police department. I grew up, my grandfather was a police officer, 5 of my dad's cousins were police officers, and so I understand local police that, or, you know, I grew up with local police that knew people, and that makes a big difference. My wife's a therapist. She used to work down at Boulder County and Broomfield County Jail. The cost, the emotional, mental, and psychological traumatic cost for a person to get arrested because, say, someone could have de-escalated something, but instead somebody didn't know them came in and swept them away, and that emotional cost is huge on the person and the community over time. So I think what we have to do, because I think a lot of people, maybe the majority, want to keep a police department, we kind of, as it's been said in the meetings, we have to walk our talk, we have to fund it, and some of the ways that they're talking about doing, we go on a ballot, I can talk about this was in the meetings, but 3 different taxes: marijuana tax, sales tax, you know, which is shared by people who live here as well as people who visit, property tax, and there's 3 other property taxes coming online for Boulder County. So these may go on, but it will have to be funded. And remembering that the police department takes up a big budget because it's an expensive part of our infrastructure, but the other parts of our town also need to consistently be funded, so we're not just looking at another problem once the police department stabilizes. So I'm for working hard and walking the talk and paying my personal part to serve the local police department so we can save on some of those emotional and traumatic tolls that happen to people.
Thank you, and Tom?
Yep. Best thing about going last is I don't have to say the things that already been said. But Trustee Blakemore and I have been working on this directly. And so there's some things I can say because we're mid-negotiation on a number of things. There are certain things I can't say. I take issue with what I heard down the table about pushing the police department out. I don't think there's any of that on funding. I don't think we've underfunded. We've given every penny that the police department has brought to us so far. We understand policing is getting grotesquely, staffing is getting grotesquely expensive, but finding a good police officer who knows how to work with mountain people and has all the traits that we've talked about, they're really, really hard to find. So I'm faced with a situation where we've had a budget go from roughly $580,000 in 2018 to one that's closer to 1.2, maybe 1.3 million this year. We've got a total budget of 4.2 million, of which 850,000 is grants. So do the math, it's more than 25%. It's closer to a third of your fixed. So we've got some, I'm a fact-oriented person. I have to pull a lot of facts together, bring them to the community, make some choices, because this affects the fabric of the community, and how we stay safe, how we relate to each other. And we've been extraordinarily lucky so far to have what we have. So we're mid-process on this, and just stay tuned. We're pulling, we've got a police budget put together for next year, preliminary already, and so we're taking a hard look at this, getting costs for the Boulder County Sheriff's Office alternative, and we'll be coming to you on what I can say about the budget is we've done our audited financial statements. We're in good shape. We're not in crisis mode. We're in good shape. So be aware that we will work this out responsibly. We're going to work it out with everybody's budget.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Let's see. Next question, and we'll start with Jesse. We'll come this way and go around, so we're not always going the same people in a row. Many people move to Nederland because they are attracted to the town's historic character and mountain setting. Do you support the concept of redevelopment of downtown? Why or why not?
That's a great question. So I feel, so I am in construction and I make my living with construction. And, you know, part of what I do is new construction and part of what I do is maintenance. And one thing about earthwork is it's always being eroded and it's always being worn out. And luckily I get to go and maintenance things all the time. And so with regard to our downtown, I feel that, you know, I know that there is a lot of talk of redeveloping downtown. And I know that there is maintenance that needs to be done. So at a certain point, it becomes a matter of, do we start from scratch? Do we tear everything down and rebuild? Or are we going to continue to maintenance, you know, what could be considered an old car, for example? And, you know, those are always difficult choices and they're economic ones. And I am open to going either way on those. And really, you know, I am prepared to bring my best thinking and my best understanding and my open mind and open heart to any proposals that come forward. You know, I know Ron, and I know he has been preparing to make a redevelopment proposal for many years in this town. I pride myself in my ability to get along with Ron and to help him out when he needs assistance with heavy equipment, and vice versa. He's helped me out over the years, and I feel that I could have a dialogue with him, and I could represent the community well, and come up with a great solution to move us forward, and to, at the very least, bring all of our deferred maintenance up to current.
Great, thank you. Riley?
All right, I really agree with the maintenance part of it. That was a good way to explain it. Something needs to be done with our traffic, our town growing. I mean, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we didn't have this amount of traffic, the amount of people using the sewer lines, the businesses, the parking. I mean, you name it, it's changed. We need to maintain, we need to work together, figure out the best way to do that. I read Ron's plan. There's a lot of very good stuff in there. I think if we all work together, we can make this happen. We can make it happen efficiently, effectively, and not bouldering our Netherlands. Keeping that charm, that historical feel, and that appeal that everyone loves. It's strong. I mean, like, during these summer times, I don't see many people not walking around with a smile on their face. Wintertime, different story. Yeah, a lot of people move here in the summer and they'll leave their first winter. So, but something needs to be done infrastructure-wise. I think working together, working with the community, and just having open communication is the biggest thing we can make it all work.
Great, thank you. Steve?
So I used to work on the west end of Pearl Street in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I got to see the west end of Pearl go from being a pretty cool neighborhood with some pretty quirky little buildings to turning into a monstrosity that truly looks like Breckenridge. Looks like Southern California too. I don't like that look. I think that it was very mismanaged in the way that it was grown. And I think that what ended up happening is people just kept buying the same view from all the other buildings, and it just got taller and taller. I work at Salto. I work at Tinshed. I think the idea of having a 3-story building sitting right there is a really bad idea. I don't think it would fit well in the town. I think that something needs to be done with that area. I think that is overall looking at some of the folks that have worked in some of those kitchens and talking to some of the folks that have been a part of those businesses when they were thriving. They needed maintenance while they were up and running. So there's got to be something done. I think that there is a room for some sort of compromise where we can come up with something that is far more fitting for our community and for our town. Seeing even some of the things that they've done in Central City with Blackhawk, where they've taken buildings down, but they've kept the face and then refaced a new building and new plumbing, new infrastructure there. I think it's a pretty cool concept. I think it's a pretty cool idea. We do have some history of pioneering. It would be a shame to see all of that just flatten, but something needs to be done. I think we can all agree. And I think that as a community, we can come up with a solution, we can come up with a compromise, and we can all agree on. But I'm personally against a 3-story monstrosity looking for first and second. But again, something needs to be done. We just be afraid as a community, we go over it. It's fun.
Great, thank you.
How close was that to 2 minutes?
You had like 2 seconds. You
Perfect.
had it. Tom, would you go next?
I'll go next. In my professional life, among the other things I work on are smart cities around the world. One thing I've learned is that cities or towns or any community is a system of systems. And our systems are profoundly broken. If you go into downtown and you ever have a chance to look under what's underneath, it's grotesque. We've got sewage lines, we don't know where they go, and so it starts below the ground. Working with Jesse to build a house over the last year, I've learned an amazing number of things that you can do right underground before you ever start to build. But you start with the template of what you want to accomplish, and that includes getting trucks in and out efficiently without blocking streets. It includes getting cars parked in places. It would be nice if they were warm and underground, maybe even a car wash. It'd be nice if we had more stores or more restaurants to choose from, but more importantly, the stores that we've got don't have enough room, the bagel shop, for instance, to work efficiently. So we lose a day or two out of that. Our sales tax revenues reflect the health of the business community. Sales tax revenues held up rather nicely through the recession. And I'm happy about that, but I think sales taxes are how we pay for police departments, how we pay for the things we want, new trail systems. And sales taxes come from businesses that thrive and function efficiently, and we don't have the infrastructure for that right now. I think Ron's plan is a great start. I work on the capital side of things too. I know there's a lot of capital ready to bring in to build what we want, but nobody on the capital side wants to work with any town that doesn't have complete buy-in, because they're making a 20 or 30, 40-year investment. And so we have to get on board. And I think we could be, I think there's something between what we got now and what we got in Central City or in Boulder. I think we can do better than we got. I know we can.
Great, thanks, Tom. And Billy?
Well, I think these guys said the first thing that, we need to do is maintain or address what the present situation is, which is starting to work with infrastructure underground for the existing buildings. I agree. The question is, do you support development in downtown? Yes, I do, and I support the vision and the big term picture of supporting other things along the way that will keep business development propped up for the long haul. Because if we don't have housing, again, if we don't have police infrastructure, we don't have a solid town staff, we don't have good water and sewer, we don't have water security, which I definitely think is something we really need to know that we have, because we got to do something here in a few years. We're going to lose some of our water rights. And so knowing that we have those important things, all that has to happen at the same time. I believe in diversity of businesses, different types of business that can complement each other and attract different types of people who want to do different types of things. As for a specific project, I didn't want to go there. I'm on the planning commission now. I've been on it for a little 2 years. If I'm not mayor, I'm on the planning commission. If something comes in front of me, any kind of special reviews, I can't express a predetermined decision. It made it seem like a dodge, but I wouldn't be able to do it. And if I'm mayor, I'll be on the DOT, and again, I'll come to you there. And I don't want to make a decision now that I can't move down mayor. So what I will say is listening to public input and listening and weighing heavily public input. So I ask you to, whatever we do as time moves forward and things come to the town and come to the people, weigh in, write letters, show up in meetings. We're going to try to get out more surveys for folks so that we can hear what you have to say. And I listen to the public and what the public has to say.
Great, thank you. Right now, with 20 minutes left, I can keep asking questions, or we can open it up to some questions. We have other questions.
Maybe go back and forth, like one from each.
Yeah, I have some. Let me get to the right one, because I have a lot of different ones that came in. I could ask a couple of specific questions. Jesse, you discussed in your Mountaineer article, sustainable living. Could you explain what sustainable living is and how you could promote it as a trustee? And I'm going to set these at 2 minutes again.
Awesome, that's a great question. You know, I have 6 pieces of diesel burning heavy equipment, a big diesel engine for my dump truck, and 3 diesel pickup trucks. And before I had all these diesel engines, I spent some time, 3 different projects converting diesel engines to run on straight vegetable oil. And then I spent time, you know, collecting compost in town, actually hauling with a bicycle. And, you know, we upgraded to an electric bicycle when we gradually built up enough money. I ride my bike to work, and I take great pride in that. And as soon as I have an electric excavator available, I'll upgrade my excavation equipment. I have solar panels on my house. I have chickens and ducks in my yard. We compost. I've reshaped my hillside to retain water and encourage the water to soak into my landscape and cause my trees to grow a little more healthy without having to irrigate. So, you know, I guess that's just kind of a quick little nutshell. Before I started doing the excavation, I was building passive solar adobe homes in New Mexico, and I had a vision that I could basically come up with a technique for building a home that was made out of the very dirt that you're standing on. You could literally pull the earth up around you and find some trees to use them as a roof, and we could alleviate, you know, substandard housing throughout the world with some good technology. And it's a matter of understanding your soil, having the right moisture, and knowing how to mix it up and build a house. And I felt at one point we could have do a housing technology that would basically be free of fossil resources to build and live in. And, you know, I had a vision for that. Obviously, it didn't pan out. I'm doing just the simple earthwork now because it makes me happy. And that's what is my current vision of sustainable living, is doing what makes you happy.
Great. Thank you. Riley, you mentioned environmental health as being one of the highest priorities for our town. What actions could you take to improve the health of our environment?
Well, I think environmental health goes more than just what standard people think. It goes into our interactions with the wildlife. I know since COVID for the past couple of years, people have been more indoors, haven't been out in the exploring and adventuring as much. We've had an influx this year. We've had a lot more moose encounters in town. We've had a lot more, personally, up on Caribou, bears, coyotes, moose, mountain lion, you name it, they're coming through. I think having a better relationship with the environment here, so better pathing systems, better bike network, as you were saying, for travel and transportation, having other routes that you can get through that are environmentally sustainable, that don't have any negative impact. You don't need a large parking lot. You don't need a football field sized place just for cars to park. Redesigning just the foot traffic. I mean, walking through town on weekends here, it's weird. There's this weird, it's clocky. It's not smooth. I think by doing that, we can really affect our impact here with the relationship, just in town, so to speak, with our environment. Now we've seen with the Boulder County floods and everything, we can upgrade our stormwater systems. We can upgrade our travel ways, our water treatment system. Oh my gosh, I mean, we need to figure out something with that in the future, but that's for a later date as well. There's a whole lot that we can do, but I think working with the environment, I think majority of the people living in Nederland want to see Nederland clean, pristine, and kept the way it is, if not better. I think everyone will work together and make it happen.
Great, thank you. Steve, you mentioned the understanding the challenges of growing up without many resources or support. Could you elaborate on that and how it would shape your work as a trustee?
Sure. Personally. So when I was a kid, my father passed away when I was 9 years old. And I saw my mother work herself to the bone, and it was everything she could do to keep a roof over her heads and to keep food on her plates. That was a very personal question. Right? So overall, I think that working with the community, and especially the community center that we have, the food bank that's up there, being able to provide resources like the teen center, from my standpoint, seeing what I would love to see is kids that are coming from who can't afford to ski, who can't afford to be on a bicycle. I'd love to see programs that we could get those kids to enjoy the finest things that we have. Years ago, I read this horrible article that 60% of the kids that were in, and it may have actually been more, it had 70%, that were in underprivileged homes in Denver, Colorado, who had been born and raised, had never been to the mountains. Never been to the mountains. And I think that's tragic, and we have that probably in our hometown, where there are kids that have never been to Aurora, there are kids that have never been on local trails, have never had a nice bicycle. It's probably impossible to get every one of those kids on a bicycle, but I know that a bicycle from the VFW did change my life. So getting the kids in the neighborhood, and especially when my wife and I, we took an Narcan class over at Very Nice. And hearing some of the specs of some of the kids up here that are in really bad ways. I know that working with community cycles and seeing kids that are coming out of recovery that have changed a bicycle for heroin, that's a good deal. That's a really good exchange. So I would love to see more of that go on in our community. And I think that's something that we can do with very little funding. Because there's a lot of people that have bikes and skis. Right on there.
Perfect.
Oh,
Did it.
daily.
Did it.
That's an internal clock.
All right, I'm gonna finish it with just the same question for Tom and Billy because it came in as the same for both of you. If elected, what do you hope to accomplish during your tenure as mayor? And obviously you have to pick one thing and you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, the most urgent things we got on our plate right now is the PD and a budget. And I think code that makes sense. We've got a lot of irrationality in the code that needs to be straightened out. Those are all things that are deep in process right now. There's a ton of federal money coming in. I've been looking at the bill that was just passed this past week. There's a lot of things, especially for wildfire preparedness, that are going to immediately benefit us. Then I think that with that money, I think it's time to turn towards towards water safety, water security. We're working right now on a watershed ordinance to protect our watershed, and then take a really close look at our water rights and make sure that they're not going to be yanked from us anyhow going forward, because that'll make a town shut down faster than anything. On the safety front, I think we got to get a bridge across the river. One of the things that I'd love to be able to take credit for, but people have worked at for 30 years, that clinic, if you haven't signed up, get up there. There's 5, 6 rooms, exam rooms, plus 2 mental health. They're open 3 days a week, and the other 3 they're in Gilpin. Same folks. We're so lucky to have them. That doesn't answer the question, but it's a priority that we have to start this term with.
What was your top priority, Tom?
My top priority right now, I think it is getting PD straightened out so that we're safe. It's just basically overall safety and security.
Great, thank you. Same
Thanks for
question.
clarifying.
Yeah, I think off the bat, that's just a acute emergency that needs to be decided on. It's stabilizing the police department, or the police force in town. And I think with that though goes, just as importantly, is just stabilizing our town staff and town government. Town government comes and goes. Got good staff in there, they stay the same, hopefully, because that actually what makes things move along. And I think better package, I texted with Miranda today, like how can we work with other towns? Can we work with other towns to create some kind of co-op to pool together to improve benefits, health insurance, 401ks, disability insurance, improve benefits for our employees. And then, so that's a big one. Housing, I definitely want to see something happening on housing within the next, in this first term as mayor. Education, I want us to work more actively with BVSD with their new career and technical education tracks up at the high school to make sure that the high school stays solid and solvent, and then we can work to keep some of our kids up here instead of having to send everyone down. And then a big one I want to work on is just increased communication. And, I think a lot of people who've been here for a while don't feel respected with their opinions. A lot of people who are new here don't feel respected with their opinions. And there's a lot of good opinions, and you got to listen. We got to listen to each other, listen to them all, and realize that everyone has something to offer. And, just improving how we talk with each other and creating a better community and getting people's voices heard more, making it easier to contribute. We were doing a survey, a keeping animals ordinance survey. It's been out for a couple weeks with playing fishing. So I ran out some extra things that were running around businesses and they're putting them up, and you can just shoot it with your phone and brings you right to the survey. Boom, you're done in a minute. Like, anything we can do to get people involved and have more voices heard easily. More easily.
Great, thank you. We still have 9 minutes. Do we want to do a question from the audience?
Looks like.
I want to know what each candidate thinks about, just heard Billy speak to getting opinions and input and collaboration, yet we are part of a representative government. So I'd like to hear that what the balance is there. Versus, getting people's opinions in the community, is that what you do and then that's what you go with, or where's the leadership there? That's what my, it's not really a question. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Billy, do you want to?
Yeah, I think the big part of the leadership is listening to people, and giving people an audience and letting people know that they can be heard, they will be heard. And you're right, it's not like everyone's going to have unanimous opinions. So we won't always be able to go, or may not be able to go with even a majority opinion. I would generally want to do that, but I'm sure we can think of examples where that may not happen. But leading can be giving people a voice and listening to what they have to say, and then making sure that our government hears it as well, and that is weighs into what we do.
Great, thank you. Do you want to answer by everyone though?
I would. I'd
Yeah,
like
I'll
to
go.
know
Sure.
the difference between leadership and collaboration, I guess.
I'll go next. I think it is really important to get the resources and accessibility for people to cast their vote and to make themselves heard. I also agree with what Tom said earlier. I like the facts, being able to distinguish fact from opinion from emotion. So if we can get all community active, if we get 100%, that'd be amazing. If there's any way to do that, I'm open for that. I think the QR codes is a really good idea because people are walking around with their cell phones daily. If you make it easy and accessible to cast their vote and cast their opinion, they'll do it. They have to go out of their way. Unfortunately, what we've seen in the past couple of years is people won't go out of their way for it. But getting all the facts together and making sure everyone's heard that wants to be heard, really important.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think participation, I think it's overall understanding what the community wants from you. Listening, absolutely. It's part of it is just being involved and going out. And please don't bring political issues to the bike shop to me. But if you want to meet for a beer or you want to sit down over a cup of coffee, I would gladly talk to anybody about a concern that they have. Overall, I think that it is a huge weight of responsibility, especially in a representative. If you are going to be a representative, you have to understand who you're representing. And if you don't understand those voices, even if you don't always agree with them, but you have to hear them, you have to listen. And I think that's a very important aspect. And I think that's actually one of the really big advantages of living in a very, very small town, is we can see almost everybody from here. So if there's one, I think that it's overall, we've all heard the call from Julian that we are all participating a bit more. I think that a lot more people are keyed into the topics that are part of our community, but I'll listen to you.
Great, thank you. Who wants to go next? Tom?
Yeah, I think there's, I've been in the survey business most of my professional career, so I know that the way you ask a survey can steer your answer. So that's something I have to be careful. So there's open form and closed form surveys, because you could definitely you can prove anything you want with a survey. I've been going over to Salto every Saturday afternoon from 12 to 2, I still do. And anybody that wants to come in and talk about anything, I'm there. And sometimes it's quiet, or sometimes it's busy. Other times I catch up on work I'm behind on. But I think you really have to do that. Number 2, on the same front. The internet is NetHeads, NetTalk, all the rest. They're incredible echo chambers. So people coming in, getting in, and especially if it's a closed community. Some of them are closed. Can't get in if somebody doesn't want you. So people will take pot shots, and then I get one day this week I got 14 letters, angry letters, and everyone had to be dealt with. Every one of them, once you talk with them and address some facts, you can move it towards, okay, I see you're concerned, here are the facts, and you eventually get to a point where here's how I want to help. And it takes time. It's taken on average maybe 30 to 40, 30, even 50 hours some weeks talking to people. So it takes an enormous amount of time discerning facts from fiction and deciding what to do with it, what it means, and then what we can do with it. That's the hard part, especially if you don't want to be in BOT meetings until after midnight.
And Jesse?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Dawn. I feel that creativity, collaboration, progress, moving forward as a community, creating a better future is a mysterious thing. We spent a lot of time 10 years ago planning a lot of documents, and we've spent a lot of time since then responding from one crisis to the next. And I know personally, as well as many of my neighbors, have had a lot of various disputes with neighbors. I know the BOT has dealt with a lot of crises of the day, and all that is important, and yet it can always distract us from realizing the visions that we come up with together as a community, that we did come up with as a community 10 years ago. And what I feel is my job as a leader, or for any leader for that matter, is to basically be able to hold a vision and to be able to articulate a vision of a better future, and to be able to connect with all of us as a community, to be able to identify with one another as having a common stake in our well-being as a town, and to say, hey, we're all in this together, and we can all move forward together as a common people. And then it's up to Miranda to then tease out all the strengths and weaknesses of all the individuals and say, this is how we're going to do it technically. And so I guess it's kind of, there's management and there's leadership, and leadership is saying we're all the same in this together moving forward. And then management, where Miranda comes in and says, we're all different, we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we're gonna execute.
Great, thank you. Unfortunately, we're at the end of our time inside. However, I think all these guys are up for going outside and hanging out outside and talking to anyone that wants to talk to them.
Who gets the
I know.
first question?
Well,